Hello, I'm Green.
And I'm Purple.
And welcome back to Green and Purple. We're back podcasting today. I was about to say back playing, but then we're not playing anything today. So it didn't work. So I didn't say it until now when I was talking about when I was going to say it, but I didn't. How you doing today, Kayla?
I'm actually doing very well.
Good. We're doing just a little more podcasting because, I don't know, I kind of like it.
Yeah, I do too.
I think you guys, they've been somewhat popular, so hopefully you guys are enjoying it too. Today we're kind of continuing our trend of just looking up internet lists and then going through them, seeing if we agree with the lists, and then just talking about the individual items on the list. Today we're talking... It's a little weird. This is the third podcast, but this is the first one where we're actually talking about video games, even though this is a video game channel. But
no, it's not.
No. This is a 90s cartoon channel where we occasionally play video games. But today's list is a Kotaku list, and it's the 10 best horror video games of all time. So I think this is going to be kind of a... I don't know if I'm going to agree with their list, is what I'm getting at. Just on the basis of, like, I think horror games, much like horror movies, are very subjective.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll go through them, and we'll see how many of them we've played and what we think about them.
Okay.
So
number 1. Or does he start at 10? No, he goes at 1.
No, he starts at 1. No, the first one is one I think that's probably going to be on any like top horror games of all time, which is Amnesia: The Dark Descent.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, I'll be honest, I played through Amnesia all the way. Have you played through all of Amnesia?
No, I couldn't do it. I'm too much of a bitch.
And I mean, it is scary. But I think it's included on so many lists because it kind of kicked off the whole modern wave of PC horror games.
Yes. For
better and for worse. It brought us a lot of good horror after it, but it also brought us a lot of, the crapware on Steam where everyone's like, oh, if I just make it where you run away from a monster, that means it's scary. There we go.
Listen to the monkey. It makes it make a bip.
Yeah, exactly. That was from our Halloween videos.
Oh, yeah.
Which one was that?
That was the one where you're in, like, the lab area.
Oh,
and
right.
There's that creepy man.
Terror Lab.
I think
that's what it was, yeah. So you got a lot of that, but you also got... I think it brought... That's the thing, Amnesia is a good game.
Mm-hmm.
It just brought a lot of people who thought that it was a simple concept, but didn't put in the actual effort to make a good game. Because Amnesia has a lot of really... interesting concepts, and it's scary because it's very well made, I think.
Mm-hmm. And one of the scarier things that I think about it is that you can't fight back.
Right, which was not something you saw a lot before Amnesia. Most of horror games you saw were survival horror, where, even if you didn't have a whole lot of ammo or a whole lot of means to fight back, you still could. Amnesia, you couldn't. There was no way for you to attack anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, like any good idea, it got so overplayed to the point where I like it now whenever games give you a way to fight back, because it seems like most of them now don't let you fight back. Again, just kind of copying Amnesia. But yeah, I'll agree with that placement on the list. I think Amnesia is a really good horror game that spawned a lot of good horror games and a lot of not good horror games.
I remember the part that I called quits on was the part with the invisible water monster.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I called quits.
It's pretty... What's worse is towards the end of that section, you're like, we're still running from the water monster, and then there's like a couple of the normal Amnesia monsters at the top of the staircase at the end of that area. Mm-hmm. So you're running from the water monster, and then you run into more of the enemies, and you're just like, no. So let's see what's second on the list. Outlast. I haven't played Outlast.
I've seen people play through Outlast.
I've seen a little bit of it, and I own it. I just haven't played it. It seems definitely to be kind of the spawn of the Amnesia generation. It looks very similar. I don't think you can fight back in this one, as far as I can tell. Maybe it seems like
no. I don't think you can. I don't think you can. No.
Yeah, and
it's more just hide and seek.
From what I've seen, it seems to kind of take the approach of it's scary, but it's also just really unsettling and shows you a lot of like graphic imagery to make you upset.
A lot of penises too.
Yeah, Nothing. I mean, Amnesia has a penis in it too.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It just throws it in there. And there's a penis, which is fine. I mean,
it's just a penis,
right? But that unsettles people, I guess. Seeing penises.
I mean, back in middle school, it did. Whenever they're like, "Okay, kids, today we're going to talk about penises and vaginas."
But I mean, those were diseased penises that they showed us.
Oh God! Oh, have we?
That had a reason. I think we've talked about it.
Yeah,
we had to have.
Yeah, we were at a. It was like, this talk where they're like...
It was about STDs.
Right. And then just all of a sudden, the guy's just talking about it, just randomly, giant picture of an infected penis on the screen.
Like, yeah, he'd be talking about gonorrhea or whatever, but then he'd just, like, picture a gonorrhea, and everyone wasn't ready for it.
Right.
Even, it wasn't just a kid thing that all of us were...
Oh, yeah.
The teachers in the back were all just go, because there was female teachers there, too, because, they were taking their class to it, and all of them, you could tell, were just like,
no.
Like, I ain't got nothing against penises, but that's gross penis. Why you gotta put gross penis up there? Five Nights at Freddy's. You know much more about this game than I do.
Yes.
I never have played any of them all the way through.
Nor have I, because
have you really not beaten any of them?
No, because
I'm not. So like, have you really not beaten any of them? You did. A lot of people. It combines like your greatest fear into a game,
and I know a lot of people say like, "Oh, it's not that scary," but it has a great story to it. Like the story, and I'm like, to me, I think it has a good story, and it's very terrifying. But that's just because it's subjective. It's hitting all of my fears. Animatronics.
Yeah, the animatronics also, I think, coupled with the fact you can't run away from any.
Yeah,
you're just kind of stuck where you are.
Yeah, that's my worst nightmare right there.
Yeah,
and also the fact that like another thing I don't like about animatronics is not just animatronics, just things in general that just twitch. I hate it when they just twitch.
It's like someone has like Tourette's. It's like, God, stop! But yeah, I have never played any of them. I played like the demo whenever it first came out because you wanted to show it to me, and so I played the demo. And I think it's another one of those things where it was a really strong idea to begin with, and I think it was really clever. And then, and I'm not dogging on the creator for trying, for trying to make the most of it while it was still hot because he did like 4 or 5 games. It was like 4 main games.
There's 4 and then Sister Location.
Right. And then also he had like the RPG thing that he also like took down pretty quickly or something. And I'm not dogging on him. Like if I had something that was really successful, like of course I'd try and capitalize on it as much as possible. So I don't agree with the people that just give him tons of shit for it was like, oh, he just ran it into the ground. Like he just tried to capitalize on it. And but then again, they all had slight differences between each of the games, but the core thing never really changed, I think.
Yeah.
And
Sister Location really didn't mix it up a lot, though.
I never saw anything about Sister Location, really.
I thought it was a good, like... It really was different. Like, it wasn't what you were used to with the FNAF. But, of course, it still scared me because they're still animatronics.
Right.
And he updated it where, like, their masks are more high tech, so like it peels off and stuff. Like I'm like, that's just making it worse for me. Come on.
But I think if you somehow managed to avoid the entire Five Nights at Freddy's series when it came out, if you're looking for just a good little horror game to play, I'd recommend the first one. I think it still still holds up pretty well, and because it wasn't really high tech to begin with. It's just. It's more the content that's frightening. But if you just want like a one night horror game to play, it's not very long. Even if you do get all the way through it, I'd recommend it.
Yeah,
I don't have anything against it. I just never really got into it myself,
and I just can't play it because I can like
it is your worst fears.
I keep telling Austin and Lavender that like. One night of FNAF is literally one night that I can handle. Like, I can only play one night per night.
Right. I feel you. Yeah.
There's
certain games... Usually for me, it's like... I'll initially be really frightened of, one game or another. And then once I can really adapt to it and, like, get into the game, then I'm okay. Yes. yeah, there's certain people where just like they can't even get into the game because it's like scares them too much to even to like get to the point where they're comfortable to it. Let's see what the next one is.
So call me a bitch. I'm in the minority. A lot of people are just like, no, it's not scary. I was like, it's scary to me.
Next one is Fatal Frame 2: Crimson Butterfly, which I never played any of the Fatal Frame games. I know about them though. I believe this is still one of the PS2 ones. I think the third one is whenever they had the Wii U one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it always looked. It's a Japanese horror game.
So obviously,
so girls with long black hair jumping out at you, spirits and whatnot. If I remember right, the Fatal Frame. Have you watched anything about the Fatal Frame game?
I've watched the playthrough of one of them.
It's like you have a camera, if I remember right, and you try and capture which goes into Japanese lore and the whole thing that they think a part of your spirit is like captured within a picture.
Mm-hmm.
So you're capturing these spirits in pictures. So you can't even like see them without your camera, right?
Correct.
So you only see them when you're looking through your camera. Again, I haven't seen much about it and I haven't played them, but I think if Japanese movies tend to scare Japanese horror movies, not just Japanese. Oh, the Japanese language is frightening. If Japanese horror movies tend to scare you, I feel like these games would probably scare you. It seems to hit on the same thing.
Konnichiwa, Austin-kun.
What have you gathered about the Fatal Frame games from like what you've seen of them?
I think the concept that they have with the camera thing is very effective. I find it very effective, very unsettling to me, just because it's that whole unseen threat.
Right.
And so like and just to go back with the FNAF games, it also hits one of the things that really scares me. In FNAF 4, I believe, that's when like you're playing as a kid, and like you would have to listen to where the animatronics are, then go over to the door, and then like if they're there, you shut it, but you can also like turn the light on. But if you turn the light on and they're there, then they get you. That's something that really scares me. Just like you can't see, something's in front of you, you turn on something that lets you see it, and then it's right in your face.
Right.
That terrifies me.
Like that one short film on YouTube, like the Lights Off one.
Oh yeah,
where he like turns the light on and she's just like right by his nightstand.
Yeah, that's horrifying to me.
Yeah, I mean, I accidentally scared my sister last night coming home. I didn't even mean to, but I was coming in through the garage at the same time she was coming out to like get some from the fridge. And so she just opens the door and I was just standing right there and she just goes, I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Hello. Let's see what the next game is. Next one's Siren Blood Curse.
Yes, that one is terrifying.
Have you played it or you just watched it?
I watched a playthrough of it.
That one's the PS3 one, isn't it? Blood Curse, I think.
I thought it was on 2. PS.
There's Siren, which is a PS2 game, and then there's, this might be one of the PS2 games, but there was also a PS3 one.
Oh, okay.
And it might have been Blood Curse. I can't remember. Looking at the graphics, I think it's the PS3 one.
Okay.
But I have the first Siren for PS2. I haven't played through all of it, but it's again one of the Japanese style horror games, but with a little more Western style horror in it too. So having watched Blood Curse, what did you think of it?
The main mechanic that terrifies me about it is that you can
see what the monsters are seeing.
Right.
So that's been something since the first game. But yeah, it's always terrifying when you're just walking, and then all of a sudden, like the camera changes, and you like see yourself, and you're like, "Why is it that?"
Oh no! He's right behind me. I remember there was this other. It was like another indie game. It was very short, and you're like in this abandoned apartment complex, and you have to get like enough gold bars to leave. But like there's a creature that's wandering around the area, and it's based off this Japanese mythological creature, yokai. And it's just a woman's head, but like her spine and a few of her guts are still connected to like her severed head, and it's wandering around the area. And one thing you can do is that you get these power-ups where you can see what it's seeing. So you can kind of like, oh, okay, it's in this area right now. And it's so terrifying to like use that skill, and then it's like, man, that place looks familiar. Oh wait, that's where I am.
And then it turns and you see yourself. You're like, ah! It's a really cool mechanic.
Oh yeah.
And I remember because Blood Curse was one of the first. It was really early in the PS3's lifespan, and it was only on PlayStation Network, at least in the States. And so, at that point, we didn't have our internet hooked up to any of our game consoles because PS2 and Game you didn't really do that, for most games. And so, I don't know. That's why I remembered it because I was like, you can buy games like digitally. Like that's crazy. And of course, now it's just like if you can't buy a game digitally, you're like, what is up with that? Like it's so commonplace now, but it's weird to think that used to be such a weird thing to think about. Oh, Caleb, it's your favorite. It's Alien Isolation. The thing is, I feel like you would be less frightened of the alien itself than of the
No, yeah, that's why I hated you, because you made me play the stage that was just the Joes, or whatever they're called.
Working Joes?
Yeah, the Working Joes. That's literally what terrifies me more. It's not the alien; it's those guys.
Okay, do you find the animatronics like FNAF style, like animals or whatever, more frightening, or the ones that are like more humanoid type?
Both.
Okay.
Like, because there are exceptions. Like, I'm not, like, in Persona 3, I'm not terrified of Aegis.
Right.
And in Xenosaga, I'm not scared of Cosmos.
But, I mean, I don't know about the one from Xenosaga, but with Aegis, she's portrayed to be very, like, beyond the uncanny valley. Like, she is just like a normal person. I think for you, it's like whenever they're in the uncanny valley, or, like, not even to the uncanny valley, that's whenever it still falls within your...
Because, like, they show the handy Working Joes.
They have, like, the very, like... They're even in the world of the game, they're meant to be... Because one of the characters in the game is an android, but he acts and looks just like a normal person. These ones are meant... Like, they were supposed to be, like, discount droids.
Yeah, just a pawn.
Yeah, they were just supposed to work, so they didn't need to look and act completely human.
They show no emotion. They always talk in this monotone voice.
Like, their face kind of has, like, that rubbery look to it.
Yeah.
Like,
that's terrifying. To me, at least.
And, I mean, I played Alien Isolation. I think Alien Isolation's really scary, too. It is... the only thing I will say about it is, like, it's a very long game. And so, by the end of the game, it is kind of getting to the point where, like, it's like, dang it, the alien's here again. And you just, like, run right at it and, like, puff it with the flamethrower. It's like, go away!
No!
But yeah, I still think it's one of the best horror games that's come out here in the last few years.
Wish I could play it. I'm too much of a bitch.
Is that why you don't play Resident Evil 7, Caleb? You'd like Resident Evil 7. But yeah, that's how I felt whenever Resident Evil 7 came out. I don't think it'll be on this list. But I would talk to Caleb about it. I was like, it's really fun. Like, I think, because he'd played the rest of the Resident Evil games. I was like, I think you'd like it, Caleb. And then he'd just be like, oh, yeah. And then I started thinking about it more. I was like, I think it's because it's, like, more horror skewed than the rest of them. Because the rest of them are, like, even the earlier ones really aren't that scary.
I mean, will admit, the Resident Evil 2 and 3 did scare me the first time I played through them.
I mean, Resident Evil 3, he actually, like, chases you, which can be frightening.
And then 2, Mr. T just scared the crap out of me. There's one part where, like, you walk into this room, and he pops up in that room, and then you leave it, but, like, the way that the hallway's set up, like, you're walking around the room that you were in. So, like, when you get to this one point, he just burst through the wall, and that scared the crap out of me.
I mean, you were also pretty young whenever you played.
No, I was, like, a teenager.
Oh, yeah? I guess it really is the whole, like, different things scare different people. Because I always... For Resident Evil 1 through 5, I haven't played 6. But I know it's more or less just an action.
Oh, yeah.
But, they never really... 4 scared me a little bit at a couple parts.
Oh, 4 scared me so much. But I actually beat that one.
Right. But, anyways, the point of the story being, like, I realized that the reason Caleb wasn't too enthusiastic about 7 was because it was more horror skewed than the rest of them. So I was like, he probably is... probably doesn't... Both wants to and doesn't want to play it. Let's see what the next one is. Condemned Criminal Origins is another one I have, but I haven't played it. Do you know anything about this?
Not really.
This is one where like you play a police officer, and like you're trying to track down this serial killer or something. But basically, it's melee only. Well, no, there is guns, I think, but a lot of it's melee combat. And, like your melee weapons break. For me, at least, I tried to play a little bit of it, and I could definitely see why people are scared of it, and I think it probably is a good game if I could get past some parts that I have issue with, but it just seems a little dated to me. Which, it's just weird how games work. Like, some games...
Or timeless.
Yeah, like, you know, you can play it however many times, and it always feels brand new to you, but other games, you know, they've only been out for a year or two, and then all of a sudden they feel dated.
Fire Emblem Conquest.
Dead Space. I gotta love me some Dead Space.
Oh, yeah.
Did Dead Space scare you a lot, Caleb?
Not as much as other horror games, but
much?
It
has some good jump scares in it for sure. I love Dead Space. I mean, that was like my first solo game I played on the channel, right?
Yep.
After
Gradius. Yeah. And it was right alongside Parasite Eve.
Right. So I mean, I love Dead Space. It combines the same. Whenever I was talking about Alien in our movie episode or podcast, it combines sci-fi and horror, which are like two of my favorite things. And then survival horror is like my favorite genre of games. So it's just like that perfect. Like Dead Space is one of my favorite games of all time, and
I like it too. It's just
It's
always that thing. It's like I like it, but it scares me.
And I think that's the weird thing with horror games and horror movies. Like you feel cheated if they don't scare you because you're like, oh, that didn't even scare me. But then if it scares you too much, you're like, okay, I can't. No, no. It looks like Zombie U. What?
Skip.
Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about, like, it was a decent idea, I guess, like the whole thing of you only have one life, and if you die, like, you start as a new person, but I've played Zombie U, and it is not... it's not a horrible game, but there's no way it would get anywhere near to a normal top 10. Like, come on, Kotaku. God. I'm not going to say Ubisoft paid him to put Zombie U on the list, but I'm just saying... I don't know anyone who would willingly... Again, okay, subjective. Maybe this person just got really frightened of this game, but no. And then 10 Until Dawn.
It didn't scare me. It was more like...
To me, at least, it felt more like... I don't know. I could see why people would get scared by it. And I mean, I think certain parts are definitely scary. But at the same time... It felt more like a narrative experience to me than a horror experience.
Kind of like one of those like choose your own adventure books.
Right. It felt like I was playing a horror movie. Like, because horror games and horror movies are very different in how they scare you. But it felt like I was playing a horror movie. But in a weird way that almost made it less scary than just watching a horror movie. Because I felt like I could do something about the thing. It's not like I was hopeless just watching something happen to someone else. Like, I felt like I could interact with everything. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I like Until Dawn. I think Until Dawn's really good. But I don't think I would put it... I don't think it's one of the scariest games I've ever played.
And I think that brings up, like, the thing I said in our last episode podcast, how, like, for some reason, horror movies tend to not scare me at all. But when I play a horror game, like, that, I lose it.
Yeah, I mean, they really do scare you in completely different ways, and the reasons you are scared are for completely different reasons. With horror games, it's like it scares you whenever like something's chasing you, or whenever something jumps out at you, something's pursuing you. But with horror movies, it's more like it frightens you whenever. I mean, to the same way, but for different reasons. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Yeah. But they're very different in how they scare you. It put a bonus one on there. PT. I'll agree with that. PT's scary. I mean...
Tell the story of when we made Lavender play it.
We made Lavender play it, and she was going through and she was pretty tense, but like nothing had really happened.
Right.
And but she got to the part where like I knew something could jump out of her, because PT's very much like things are weird and like certain things will set other things off and whatnot. But she's like, okay, I think I'm done, and she was like closing her eyes, and I was like, no, just play a little more. And like as soon as she opened her eyes is whenever Lisa like jumped into the camera, and she was just like, ah! Just like screaming at the top of her lungs. It was pretty great.
Lavender's probably gonna hear this, but when Lavender gets scared, it's just so funny to see, because when she was playing, she can't play BioShock, by the way.
Right. It's just strange to me. Like BioShock, I mean, I know BioShock has horror elements, but for the most part, BioShock I don't even think tries to scare you. But I get, again, subjective, for whatever reason, it really frightens her.
But a common thing she does, and this had the one example I can give is when she was playing BioShock Infinite.
Oh, right.
And at that part towards the end, they put a jump scare in.
Right,
and like
she's the Boys of Silence.
Right, and so she's playing it, and this is how her process tends to go. She turns around, jump scare, she screams, pauses, she screams, and then like continuously whacks the thing that scared her in the game, and then pauses it, throws the controller on the ground, and then curls up in a ball.
No.
As she does, like, it's a laugh. It's a laugh cry. Like, it's like, kind of like,
which is kind of the opposite of usually whenever I see you get scared.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, sometimes you like scream, but other times I'll look over and you just have like the silent horror, just like screams like. Just the silent scream.
Oh yeah.
It gives another one. I don't know. The second bonus it gives is a game called Dread Halls. It looks like a VR game.
I know what it is.
I mean, VR. I think just you can have a crappy VR horror game and it can be more frightening than like a well put together.
I feel like
non VR game.
I feel like because the person I saw that played this was Markiplier, and it scared him so bad that he was like crying.
Oh,
like, he took off the VR set, and he was, like, crying. He's like, I can't play this anymore. And I can only imagine what it would do to me.
I think you just die. Like, I'd have to take you to the hospital. You'd get the silent horror, and you just collapse, and I'd have to take you to the hospital. Yeah, I think VR just naturally...
No, I can't do it.
Because it's the difference between something jumping at the screen...
And jumping right in your face.
Yeah. And, you know, that's always going to be more frightening. Even if it's not even a good jump scare, just something being in your face out of nowhere is frightening. And so, like, I wait the day where we have, like, a truly good horror game, like, really well put together and everything, that's also VR, because I think that could actually be dangerous to people's health. And I don't even know how I would react in VR, because, I mean, I've played enough horror games where I think I'm at least decently good at dealing with...
Yeah, you're not like me. You're not anywhere.
There's never a horror game where I feel like I can't play it.
Right.
But I don't know how I'd be with VR. Like, I think it's completely possible I could get to the point where I'm like, okay, I can't play this game. Like, it's too frightening. But that's one of the reasons why I hope VR eventually does. I think it's still kind of iffy as to whether or not it's just going to be a fad type thing.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is, like, it's too expensive and developers aren't really supporting it because not a lot of people have it because it's too expensive.
Right.
But I hope it, even if it's not, like, soon, like, maybe it comes back later on in, like, a different form, but I think it is really interesting technology, and I think it could be used well if they find a way to kind of, like, let the technology mature. But,
it's getting pretty popular in the sex industry.
Well, of course, but, I mean, that's for different reasons. Okie doke, so that was Kotaku's list of best horror games. There was some games on there that I don't think should have been on there, and there's some games on there that I would have included, but I knew that was probably going to be the case going into this list. Let us know in the comments below what games on the list you thought you've played and you thought were scary, and also what games weren't on the list that you found scary.
And feel very much free to call me a sissy boy or whatever.
Yeah, and
I'm completely aware of it.
let us know if some of the games like we talked about that we were like, oh, this game's really scary, and you didn't find it scary. Like, I always find that interesting, what different things scare different people. Drop us a comment down below, and we'll be down there later commenting and responding. What are you doing, Kale?
Hi.
Kale, get away from the mic.
I don't wanna.
Okay, bye, everybody.
See ya.